My perspective on this is a little different, but I'm hoping that the experience of CUPE 1989 will translate, and there'll be lessons to be learned from what we did to share with others. This summer, we were on strike for the first time in our union's history, and it was a successful strike, and we were thrilled with the results. Thank you, our members, thank you. So we had 4 goals. No concessions, that our contract wouldn't get any worse. A living wage for our lowest paid workers. They're called our pages. They're the people who put the books on the shelves. A living wage for them. Some improvement for our part-time workers, which are more than 50% of us, or like 56% of us are part-time. And the largest possible increase for everyone. And to get that without taking anything away from anyone else. So none of that, we wouldn't have won any of that without the strike. It was only achieved by striking. Our pages were earning only pennies above minimum wage. They're in a union, but they were earning just under $12 an hour, and that was at the top when they had been there for years. They were topping out at under $12 an hour. So our goal from the beginning was $15 an hour in one leap, not in steps, and without taking anything away from full-timers or from anyone else. So, okay. Another huge goal was to make some improvement on our part-time contract. We did not go nearly as far as we wanted with that, but we did fight off 2 very major employer proposals that would have made our part-time lives, their working lives, unbearable. It's bad now, but it would have gotten so much worse. And we did win a couple of small improvements, and that wouldn't have been possible without striking either. And that fight also laid the groundwork for our next round of bargaining, which we already know is going to focus on paid sick time. If it's not already mandated by legislation, we're going to win it next time. So, and we did get a slightly better increase than was on the table from the employer, and we got that for everyone. So I just wanted to share a little bit about where this came from and how it was done. The roots of our strike go back a full 2 years of rebuilding our union and building member engagement. Always in the back of our minds that we were probably going to have to strike to get a fair contract next time. Flashback 2 years ago, our union was just extremely weak and ineffective. It is membership. It's a rank and file union, but that leadership had been there for a long time and was just really interested in making nice and not rocking the boat. And for a lot of other reasons, our members were very alienated from the union. The union was like this thing that happened over there, the union. No one ever said our union or my union. It was the union. So in that context, if you think about that backdrop, we made a major concession in our last contract. Union leadership at the time really pushed people to ratify. And there was a small group of us, myself and some others, kind of arguing against ratification, but we were new to the system, we didn't have a lot of credibility, and anyway, the people they had elected were telling them, you better sign this, and they were really scaring people away from striking. Then, as the effects of that concession played out in our lives, in our working lives, as things got worse and worse for us, union leadership said, well, you signed it. If you didn't want it, why did you sign it? So there was a lot of anger. And there was a lot of anger against the employer, but there was a lot of anger against the union. And who could blame them? It was justified. So a small group of us began to sow the seeds of an internal movement to reboot the union. And we tapped into that anger that was everywhere, but we also wanted not just to channel the anger, but we wanted to cultivate a belief that it wasn't inevitable, that a different result would be possible, and that we could achieve it together. And that was our big message. And we're probably gonna have to strike. We talked about that. And we found allies, and the message multiplied and was amplified through our membership. We started strengthening our line against management, just strengthening our way of dealing with them, our attitude. And we saw results immediately, and it gave members more confidence in our union, and it kind of works together. We had more confidence, we were able to face management more strongly, and it kind of snowballed. We were part of a large composite local, like the library workers were one of many, many units in a large local. And we started proceedings to break away from them, and we felt, without going into too many details, that was part of why why our members were so alienated from our union. So we did like a little, kind of like a road show, a little dog and pony show where we had a series of meetings, and we presented our vision of what our union could be, like a competing vision of what it would be to have autonomy and to make our own decisions, and what we could win, and as you said, raising the bar of what people felt was possible. So after that, our members saw this and voted in an entirely new team, like an entirely new union officers. So the new team we had two main priorities: communication and member engagement. So let's say I said 2 years, so we'd be now 6 months in, a year and a half of doing nothing but building member engagement and having openness and transparency and communication all the time. So how can members support a union if they don't even know what the union does for them? So it's possible the old leadership was fighting for things too, but we never heard about it. So we just really strengthened, a lot of it's through social media. We're shift workers, and it's not easy. We also work in like 20 different locations. So it's not easy for us all to be in one room at one time. So a lot of it is by email and a closed Facebook group, and through also a small meeting, and then you send out minutes, but always more and more communication. And when it came to bargaining, we took an entirely different approach than what past teams had done. With our members, we continued the communication. We told them pretty much everything that was going on at the table, not all the nitty-gritty, but we told them what the issues were, and most of all, we told them how the employer was treating us at the bargaining table, the incredible disrespect how their attitude towards us was so disrespectful, and that they were trying to rip apart our whole contract. They were trying to just ruin our working lives completely and make our jobs into just total crap jobs. And our members didn't know that happened at the table. Nobody had ever told them that before. So in fact, this is very common. It's very common for negotiating teams to operate in secrecy. And it's so common that people believe it's the law that you actually have to do that. When we started communicating with our members about what went on at the table, they went crazy because they thought we were going to be like hauled off on bad faith bargaining charges, or like brought before, everybody just went, no, you can't tell us that. I'm like, yes, I can, and I'm going to. So we just started like a real openness and transparency, and hearing what went on at the bargaining table really, it really fueled their resolve that something had to be done about this. And at the bargaining table itself, we decided to go in with new strength. They can't push us they can't make us sign anything we don't want to sign. It's up to them to give. This is what we want, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to get that. And with our members, being really, so a lot of communication with our members and being very strong at the table. And when it came down to the strike vote, we had a huge turnout, and 96% of the people there voted to strike. One bit of evidence of how this paid off was about 45% of our membership has permanent full-time jobs with benefits. I mean, they have these rare jobs that they got, most of them 10 and 20 years ago. And there's not a lot of incentive for them to go off on strike, not make any money, not have their pensions contributed to those for those weeks, and kind of, it takes a hit. It's a sacrifice to be on strike. And we had always kind of assumed that the full-timers would never strike for part-time issues, and that our employer knew that, and they were always trying to use this against us. The employer gave us a final offer that was just enough where a full-time person could say, nah, it's not great, but it's better than going on strike, so I'm going to vote for it. And if our full-time voted for it, we wouldn't have struck, and then we'd have no power at all at the table. We would have lost everything. So we were always working hard to keep the full-time engaged, and there was something for them. It was a bigger increase, but it turned out I had underestimated us. That years and years of mistreatment, watching our working conditions deteriorate further and further, anger at the employer, anger at the old union team that pushed this ratification and a concession on us, and 2 years of rebuilding the union, full-timers were totally ready to strike. People were like, we should have done this years ago. Where can I sign? People were streaming into the strike meeting going, I don't even have to hear it. Here's my vote. Like, it was just really, people were like, can I just vote and leave? Like, okay, but So it turned out actually, there was an issue for full-timers, but really everyone knew we were striking mainly for our pages and for our part-timers, and they were still willing to do it. So it was pretty awesome. So, okay, so I won't go on and on. I will tell you that two little bits that that kind of relate to what the other speakers have said that I think is really important. One of the reasons we were able to win our strike is because we had tremendous support from the community, and our strike became an opportunity to educate our customers, our library customers, and our residents and our neighbors about what working conditions were like in the library. Most people had assumed that we were all like in that upper echelon, that we were all had, people think you work for the government, that means you have like a good full-time job with a pension and benefits and all that stuff. And our supporters, they weren't our supporters yet, our customers and our neighbors were shocked to find out that only very few of us have that, and that most of us were working for under minimum wage and with crazy scheduling and not enough hours. And even the people who are making $20, $21, $22 an hour, it sounds like so much money, but they're only getting 8 hours a week. 8 to 10 hours a week. And those hours change constantly. So it's like impossible for them to hold another job. So we were able to raise awareness of this. And because of that, we had tremendous support from our community. People who were at first against the strike, because there are some people who are just against strikes and against unions, and they didn't like even the sound of it. But once they took our flyer and they had those conversations, and our members reached out to people and had those constant one-on-one conversations that there's kind of no substitute for, then people were suddenly like tremendously on our side. And because there's such an awareness of this, I think the context of all of this has created all of this organizing, all the Fight for 15 and Occupy and Black Lives Matter and Idle No More and all these different movements, I think, has created an awareness that, and kind of laid a groundwork when people may not have they may not have known that the library workers were having these issues, but they understand income inequality, they understand injustice, they understand when we say the library director got a 7.3% increase the same year we got a 0.5% increase. Everyone understands that, So we found there was a great receptiveness to our issues, even though these were people who were greatly inconvenienced by our strike. So I will also tell you one other thing. What do I have here? So there was the context of the Fight for 15 also, it helped us at the bargaining table. We were able to put 15 out there as a place to start. Like, we wanted 15 as the base to start with. At one point, the employer was offering us, one offer was it would be $15 an hour, but you would reach it at 2019. and then 2019, and then there'd be a wage freeze for 3 years. Like, I don't think so. So this context helped us at the table, and it helped us win the community support. We were asking people to call and email the city and on our behalf, and I think it would have been incredibly harder job if it wasn't for this political context. I mean, I don't know what we would have. It's like we were already starting on, instead of starting down here, there was already an awareness here that we could build on. And I also want to say, I'll just close with this, that the gains we made were, like, for us, for our members, they're tremendous. I mean, we really helped. We created change in people's lives in a very meaningful way, but the change in our members' confidence and their ability to articulate the issues and their willingness to fight back is like a million times more than just the changes in their contracts. Like, people were changed by the experience itself. I mean, it really was like a transformative experience, coming together and fighting collectively and supporting each other through it, and of course winning. That helps a lot too. But I have something later I would like to share with you, maybe after the questions, because I'm here as a spokesperson, but this fight was a collective struggle for all of us, and everyone played a part. And one of the things that I've done is I took a lot of different comments about how people felt about the strike, felt about the action itself. I took them from our Facebook conversations and emails and things people said to me on the picket lines, and I put them all together in a big post on our website. And I struggled to pick out just a few because there were like hundreds and hundreds of them. But I kind of put them together, and it's just a one-pager, and you could kind of read about the experience in people's own words for how much they love the experience. I mean, that people look on it as the experience of a lifetime, that they were able to do this. A strike is a sacrifice, so when people are like thanking us for taking us there, like, thank you for, not just me, I mean to our leadership team, thank you for taking this on, for taking us on this journey and for helping us do this. That really says something. And and we have a small contingent coming to the October 1st rally, which I'm telling you, before the strike, I would have been lucky to have one person coming with me, and now we have a small, really, just nobody saw themselves that way. Nobody thought of themselves as someone, protest. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting? People over there are protesting. I said this recently at another talk I gave. If anyone had told me that Mississauga library workers would be standing there banging drums and blowing noisemakers and waving flags and blocking the entrance to a parking garage, not letting cars through, while they chanted and cheered, I would have been like, yeah, right. Like, I mean, I didn't even think they would be walking a picket line, never mind they would be like blocking a parking garage, and remembering blocking the parking garage is like the best time they had all summer. Yay, can we block more parking garages? Like, people were that changed and emboldened by this experience, and now we know that next time when it comes down to our next round of bargaining, the employer knows now that we'll do this. And we won't not do it. We will do it if we have to. And if they want to avoid it, they can. So it brings us, it's brought us to a different place of strength. And I think that the non-union struggles are the same way. I mean, I think it brings you a confidence and an ability to fight that changes you, and there's kind of no going back. So anyway, thank you.